right, thank you, Annette. And on that note of a bout of heavy storm, I think you have a mixed bag of that when we analyze the Minister of Finance's budget speech yesterday. And I'm alluding to the coffee chat that starts right now. Joining me this morning, it's Kgaswe. Good morning, sir.
Morning, Mr. Mgam.
It's just you and I today. So let's begin with this business of a coffee chat. A business day, the front page there, Mboweni set for a fight with unions over cuts. The finance minister announced a plan to cut baseline spending by 261 billion rand over the next 3 years.
Yes, on a collision course with the unions. We'll see by June, or when it's strike season. Towards winter, it's strike season. We'll see when the unions take to the streets. But, I mean, what choice does government have? Because, collecting revenue is limited. He hasn't raised personal tax.
True.
We'll have the fuel levy squeezing us, but at least personal tax hasn't gone up. You know, the government gives with one hand.
Talking about tax.
And takes with the other.
Talking about tax, I was listening to the Commissioner of SARS, and he alluded to something along the lines of 63 billion rand that was not, or shortfall. SARS would not be able to collect. That's the shortfall, as you correctly say. So government is indeed in a corner in as far as collecting monies.
But when you look at the overall picture and the rising wasteful expenditure that the Auditor General keeps telling us about year in, year out, and some of the projects that the government embarks on, South Africa is not a poor country, if you really do the numbers. It's about how government spends money. It's about where the priorities lie. So I think Tito Mboweni is on the right track to say government will reduce spending rather than, overtax the already taxed the taxpayer, is to try and make sure that the spending is reined in. You have to save. In your household, you check your budget and you cut all the frills that you don't need when times are hard. So South Africa needs to get onto that path. But of course, the unions are saying, it's not our fault that there's been wasteful expenditure. Why should we suffer?
Indeed. And the feeling among the labour unions is that workers are being made the scapegoats of what has been reckless spending, as you've correctly put it. But very contrasting views, Edwin, with regards to yesterday's budget, because, yes, the front page of the Business Day does say that Mboweni is almost set for a massive fight with unions. But if you look at the front page of the Star newspaper, the headline there completely different.
Yes.
Mr. Nice Guy. Well, and it puts paid to this notion of total contrast in as far as this budget is being interpreted. So I just want to read what is contained underneath that very headline of Mr. Nice Guy. Tax rebates, a welcome relief. That refers to us not being taxed any further. Then you have the second line that talks about public sector wage cut, a war declaration. Well, the unions are very clear about that. Then sin tax increases and fuel levy hikes. That fuel levy is again going to come bite us in the pocket. So it's almost as if he's playing with us.
He has to get money from somewhere.
Indeed. The most interesting comment, though, Edwin, in that front page of the Star, it's from the COSATU spokesperson, Sizwe Pamla, who talks about, and this is his comment, this wasn't a budget, but a statement crafted to convince investors. And in particular, if you read into that article, they talk about Moody's, who obviously is the only remaining ratings agency that has not downgraded us to junk status. Do you think what we heard yesterday will be enough to appease this ratings agency?
Well, it's always been about government spending, to rein in spending and stop expanding the already bloated public service employment. I mean, if you look at the police, for instance, I think just the police, I think we're reaching something about 200,000 members of the SAPS in South Africa. And then you add on other public servants.
But they're not merely enough.
That's not enough in terms of, do we need to work smart? Do we need to make sure that police are properly trained? Is it about money? You look at education. South Africa throws a lot of money into education. Are we getting back that investment? I mean, those are the questions that we need to maybe ask and explore. But is it always about throwing money at a problem to get the required result, or do we need to spend smartly in order to get the rewards?
I'll tell you what, in this hour we are going to be speaking to I think it is COSATU. COSATU is in the next hour. In this hour, we'll be speaking to the SACP because they are among the very unhappy bunch within the alliance. It seems like the left-leaning alliance partners of the ANC are very, very unhappy about this.
They're unhappy, but in South Africa, it's almost as if you need to say, okay, guys, we've messed up as government. We know that there's this expenditure that is not reined in, that is troubling us. We acknowledge that things have not been going well. You know that things are not going well. Do we not now need to come together with a social compact that the president always talks about and say, okay, this is the starting point. From now on, we'll be good guys.
Look, corruption is going to be another major talking point in as far as this fight is concerned.